Chapter 16. The doorbell rang while the Eberhards were eating lunch. On a Sunday, honestly, Roy's mother said. She believed that Sundays should be reserved for family activities. You've got a visitor, Roy's father said when he returned from answering the door. Roy's stomach nodded because he wasn't expecting anybody. He suspected that something newsworthy must have happened last night at the Pancake House property. One of your buddies, Mr. Eberhard said. He says you guys had plans to go skateboarding? Oh, it had to be Garrett. Roy was almost dizzy with relief. Yeah, I forgot. But, honey, you don't own a skateboard, Mrs. Eberhardt pointed out. It's all right. His friend bought an extra, said Mr. Eberhardt. Roy rose from the table, hurriedly dabbing his mouth with a napkin. Is it okay if I go? Oh, Roy, it's Sunday, his mother objected. Please, it's just for an hour. He knew his parents would say yes. They were happy to think he was making friends at his new school. Garrett was waiting on the front steps. He started to blurt something, but Roy signaled him to keep quiet until they were away from the house. Wordlessly, they skated the sidewalk down the block, where Garrett kicked off his board and exclaimed, You won't believe it! Dana Matheson got busted last night! No way! Roy was trying to act more surprised than he was. Obviously, the Mother Paula's property had been under surveillance, just as he had anticipated. The cops called my mom first thing this morning, Garrett reported. He tried to break into a trailer to steal some stuff. As the guidance counselor traced middle school, Garrett's mother was notified whenever a student got in trouble with the law. Garrett said, Dude, here's the killer. Dana told him he was you. Oh, nice. What a butthead, huh? And they probably believed him, Roy said. Not even for a minute. Was he alone? Roy asked. Anybody else get arrested? Anybody like Beatrice Leap's stepbrother? He wanted to say. Nope, just him, Garrett said. And guess what? He's got a record. A record? A rap sheet, dude. Dana's been busted before. It's what the cops told my mom. Again, Roy wasn't exactly shocked by the news. Busted for what? Shoplifting, breaking into Coke machines, stuff like that, Garrett said. One time he even knocked down a lady and swiped her purse. Mom made me promise not to tell. It's supposed to be a secret, since Dana's still a minor. Right, said Roy sarcastically. You wouldn't want to ruin his fine reputation. Whatever. Hey, you ought to be doing somersaults. Yeah, what for? Because my mom says they're going to lock him up this time. Juvie Hall? No doubt, said Dana, on account of his rap sheet. Wow, said Roy quietly. He wasn't in the mood to turn somersaults, though he couldn't deny experiencing a sense of liberation. He was tired of being in Dana Matheson's punching bag. And while he felt guilty about making up the bogus cigarette story, Roy also couldn't help but think that putting Dana behind bars was a public surface. He was a nasty kid. Maybe hitch a juvenile hall would straighten him out. Hey, want to do the skate park? Garrett asked. Sure. Roy got in his bar and skateboard and pushed off hard with his right foot. The whole way to the park, he never once looked over his shoulder to see if he was being stalked. It felt good, the way Sundays ought to feel. Curly awoke in his own bed. And why not? The mother, Paula's vandal, was finally in custody, so there was no reason to spend the night on guard at the trailer. After Officer Linko gave him a lift home, Curly had entertained his wife and mother-in-law with a blow-by-blow account of exciting events. For dramatic purposes, Curly had jazzed up a few of the details. In his version of the story, for instance, the surly young intruder disabled him with an expertly aimed karate chop, which sounded more serious than having dirt thrown in your face. Curly also decided it was unnecessary to mention that he tripped in a owl burrow and fallen. Instead, he described the chase as a breathless neck-and-neck sprint. Officer Linko's role in the capture of the fleeing animal was conveniently minimized. Curly's performance went over so fabulously at home that he was confident Chuck Muckle would go for it, too. First thing Monday morning, Curly would call Mother Paula's corporate headquarters to give the vice president details of the arrest and of his own heroics. He couldn't wait to hear Mr. Muckle choke out congratulations. After lunch, Curly sat down to watch a ball game. No sooner had he settled in from the TV than Mother Paula's commercial came on, running the weekend special, $6.95 for all the pancakes you could eat, plus free sausage and coffee. The sight of Kimberly Lou Dixon playing Mother Paula made Curly think of the cheesy movie he'd rented, The Last House on Witch Boulevard 3. He couldn't recall whether it was due back at Blockbuster that afternoon or the following day. Curly hated paying late fees on video rentals, so he decided to go to the trailer and get the tape. On the drive there, Curly was distressed to remember he'd left something else at the construction site, his gun. During the night's commotion, he had somehow lost track of the .38 revolver. He didn't recall having it when he was riding in Officer Linko's patrol car, so it must have slipped from his belt while he was scuffling with the chaos of the trailer. Another possibility is that he dropped it when he stepped in the darn owl hole. Misplacing a loaded gun was a serious matter, and Curly was highly annoyed with himself. When he arrived at the fence lot, he hurried to the area where he and the teenager had wrestled. There was no .38 lying around. Anxiously, Curly retraced his steps to the owl den and pointed a flashlight down the hole. No gun. Now he was genuinely worried. He checked inside the trailer and saw that nothing had been disturbed from the night before. The door was too damaged to be reattached, so Curly covered the opening with 2 sheets of plywood. Then he began a methodical search, back and forth across the property, eyes glued to the ground. In one hand he carried a heavy rock, just in case he encountered one of the poisonous moccasins. Gradually, a horrifying thought seeped into Curly's brain, chilling him like ice water. What if the teenage burglar had swiped the revolver from his waistband while they were fighting? The kid could have stashed it in a dumpster, or tossed it into the bushes as he ran away. Curly shuddered and pressed on with the hunt. After about half an hour, he'd worked his way down to the section of the property where the earth-moving equipment was parked in preparation for the site clearing. By this time, he'd almost given up hope of finding the gun. He was quite a distance from where he had last remembered having it, and in the opposite direction from where the vandal had fled. Curly figured there was no possible way the .38 could turn so far from the trailer, unless an exceptionally large owl had picked it up and carried it there. His eyes fixed on a shallow depression in a soft patch of sand, the imprint of a bare foot, definitely human. Curly counted the toes just to make sure. The foot appeared to be considerably smaller than Curly's own, smaller too than those of the husky teenage burglar. Further ahead, Curly came across another footprint, and another, and still another after that. The tracks led directly toward the road of the earth-moving machines, and Curly advanced with a growing sense of unease. He stopped in front of a bulldozer and shielded his brow from the sunlight. At first, he didn't notice anything wrong, but then it hit him like a kick from a mule. The driver's seat was gone. Dropping the rock he'd been carrying for protection, Curly dashed to the next machine in line, a backhoe. Its seat had disappeared too. In a snit, Curly stomped toward the third and last piece of equipment, a grader. Again, no driver's seat. Curly spit out a cuss word. Without seats, the earth-moving machines were basically useless. The operators had to sit down in order to work the foot pedals and steer at the same time. The foreman's mind was racing feverishly. Either the kid they'd caught last night had a hidden accomplice, or someone else had sneaked onto the property after Curly had departed. But who? Curly wondered in desperation. Who sabotaged my equipment, and when? Frivolously, he searched for the missing seats, his mood darkening by the moment. No longer was he looking forward to calling Mr. Muckle at Mother Paula's headquarters. In fact, he was dreading it. Curly suspected that the grumpy vice president would take great delight in firing him over the phone. In despair, Curly headed for the portable latrines. Having guzzled almost a whole pitcher of iced tea during lunch, he now felt like his belly was about to burst. The stress of the situation wasn't helping either. Curly armed himself with a flashlight and entered one of the traveling Johnnies, leaving the door slightly ajar in case a hasty exit was required. He wanted to be sure nobody had booby-trapped the toilet with foul-tempered reptiles again. Cautiously, Curly aimed his flashlight down the dark hole of the commode. He gulped as the beam illuminated something shiny and black in the water. But upon closer scrutiny, he saw that it was an alligator. Perfect, Curly muttered wretchedly. Just perfect. It was his gun.